All right, ready?
I'm ready.
REI 101. Today's episode 49. Alberto, my brother from another mother. How are you doing? Happy Monday, sir.
I'm doing well, man. Really, really well. I'm loving this weather. So it's like fall version 32. It's awesome.
Yeah,
Last
it's
couple
like
of days.
God is allowing summer just to chill for a minute.
Yeah.
So just a little bit more of this breeze. So yeah, we're kicking off our vendor series, the month of April, and this is a great month because next week our episode's going to be on Thursday, not Monday. Next week at 4 o'clock, we're going to be shooting live. So we want to try to get everybody out. We've got KK and Richard on the call, so y'all need to be in there because we want to get some live Q&A, and we may pre-write some questions for people that don't ask questions and say, just read this, put it on a note card.
You can't give away the secret sauce, man.
Oh yeah, no, they always have good questions. Anna asks me great questions all the time. So how was your weekend, bro?
Weekend was good, man. Easter was awesome. Church was amazing. We had dinner last night. I cooked some dinner for the kids last night.
Good.
So weekend's just really good. I just really love this weather. Got some running in on Saturday, ran
Nice.
like 13 and a half miles. And
Oh dang, dude.
yeah, that was a really good weekend, man. How about you?
Good stuff, man. You got a big race coming up?
Oh, actually, I was supposed to have a race this weekend, but it got postponed to May because of the weather that was coming through the Fort Worth area on Friday and Saturday. And so typically they'll keep the race open, if it's raining, but if it's raining really bad and the trails can get damaged, from all the runners,
Yeah.
they just postpone the race. So I did not have my race. And in a couple of weeks, I'll be volunteering at Surfside. There's an ultra in Surfside in a couple of weeks. So I'll be
Oh, you're going to volunteer? That's cool.
yeah, but
That's
no
cool.
races.
Well, good stuff, man. So Q2, I'm already ahead of myself. Q2 is on the way. This is the first week of the quarter. So don't forget to update your goals. Go back. How did you start off in Q1? You wrote these goals for New Year's Eve. Are you a fourth of the way to your goals? If not, do your goals need to change? Hopefully your actions need to shift. Hopefully it's just some habits and some daily activities.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we're not just blaming the market. That's really easy to do right now with oil and all the things. So, but we take what we can get. We take what we can get. We know the market has a lot of challenges, and we're here to guide you through those challenges. So, episode 49. So we're going to be talking about the vendor ecosystem that every real estate investor, every agent, anybody in the professional real estate world, they're going to need these people in their life. So we're putting together our all-star team, right? We're putting together our all-star team. So the goal of this is to show that real estate investing, it really is a team sport. Couldn't do this alone, could we, Albert?
No, you can't do it alone. And if you try to do it alone, you may have some initial success, but I think you'll end up failing in the long run. You just really need to build a solid team and base that team really on obviously performance, but also relationships. We can kind of get into that a little bit too, like when we are talking about how we pick some of these vendors and people choose to add to our team.
One of the things that surprises me about the topic that we're going to discuss today is how many investors, like active investors, and I know we have a lot of newer aspiring investors on this call, but how many active investors that we meet almost every day, they don't have a go-to agent or they don't have a go-to lender or we'll become the go-to agent for a lot of people that has a ton of experience. I just got off the phone with a new client that he's been flipping houses for years and he's never had a solid real estate agent that he can just lean on at all times. So it's important. So we're going to help our listeners this afternoon, understand which vendors matter the most. We're going to explain the right people, how having the right people can save you time, it can save you money, it can save you stress. Having the
Save your
wrong people,
it can save your deal.
it could save the deal
Yeah.
completely. And having the wrong investors can waste your time, cost you money, cost you stress, and kill a freaking deal. And we have experienced this, Albert and I, both numerous times. Having the wrong people on the team can just destroy a file. That's everybody. So, welcome everybody to REI 101. This is episode 49. Thanks for supporting us all the way through, and we're going to keep going strong. So,
Let's go.
here's why this matters. Your vendors can protect profits, they can kill deals.
Mhm.
The right team is going to help the investor. It's going to help you move faster. So I always say that there's two killers of deals. And if you're not driving, you can write this one down. The number one deal killer, time kills deals. Period. Time kills deals. The number two killer of deals is judgment. Judgment will kill a deal. So thinking you know something about somebody or thinking you understand somebody's intentions, that that can kill a deal too. So time and judgment. So bad vendors can create delays, they can make
Mhm.
mistakes. So let's get into it. Ready?
Let's go, man.
Okay, so I'm gonna start with the first one.
Yeah, you start.
Okay. You need a damn good real estate agent.
Oh, I knew you were gonna start there.
Yeah. You you really need an agent that knows what is going on. You need an agent that knows how to communicate at a high level, who's organized, that keeps a calendar. They need to know the math. The math is pretty important. Uh, they need to be able to do more than just show properties. They need to be able to find properties and walk you through the deal. Um,
I
a
mean,
good agent,
not all agents are like investor agents, right? I mean,
no.
a lot of agents they like working with primary home buyers, first time home buyers, and they do really well in that area. But I think there's definitely a line between being an investor agent or an agent that services investors primarily. They just have I think a different pulse. They're looking at different numbers, right?
Well, I I've heard that a lot, and I think there's a lot of truth to that. But one thing I found, um, when I first started in real estate, my focus was on investors from the very beginning. But I've worked with a lot of first time home buyers. And every first time home buyer that I worked with in the past, and I don't work with a lot of them anymore, they're not lucky enough to work with me. I'm just kidding. The truth is I really felt like one of the highest um, forms of value that we can provide for first time home buyers to help them think about their purchasing a house as it is in an investment.
Hmm.
And I decided to take that my I did dabble in the luxury area. And believe it or not, there are buyers out there that are looking at multi-million dollar houses and they do not have the perspective of an investor, which to me is very surprising. And I try to challenge people to think like an investor, even if they're not an investor. I've always tried to challenge them to. I think I've always thought that made me a better agent. Some people didn't like it because, um, especially people that tend to be driven more by emotions than logic. You know, but I don't know. There. I think there's a lot of truth to what you're saying. I just personally felt like everybody should look at buying real estate as an investment,
Yeah.
but they
Yeah, I
don't.
get you. I think like in our experience when we're working with agents, I think in the beginning too, we're just kind of looking for agents that were available, right? That would even give us the
Yeah.
time of day. So that was the challenge in the beginning. But once you get some experience and you kind of get your name out there,
Hmm.
you're buying more than maybe one deal every 12 or 18 months, right? You're buying multiple deals or doing multiple transactions in a year. Then because of that relationship you start to build with people, they see it's a two-way relationship, right? It's
Yeah.
not always me asking you to run comps or do you got any pocket listings and things like that. I can be a source, like the investor, can be a source of income for your family, right? Because I need
Yeah.
someone to help me write the offer, to negotiate, or to close on it, or to, help me with the transaction coordination of it. Just be that person in the middle, and right, you get your fees, and then on the flip side too, as well, help me flip it. Maybe connect me with a lender, but you start to create these relationships with people.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we started. Was we were all over the place, Austin, and
Hmm.
you kind of started this with finding that one person, right? That
Yeah.
go-to agent. As you do more volume and you get some more experience, then you do have that go-to agent and maybe a backup or two, right? I mean, I think in all of these areas that we're going to be talking about today, it's always good to have at least one, possibly two, as kind of like a backup as well.
I agree. Did you find when you first started real estate investing that there were a lot of non investor friendly agents, like a lot of agents that were just not interested in working with
Well,
investors?
they weren't necessarily not interested. They just weren't savvy, right? They weren't knowledgeable about, like the 70% rule. They
Hmm.
weren't knowledgeable about even estimating repairs, right? Like I've worked with some agents, they're so good with working in investors. They can walk through properties without a contractor and give me an idea of how much the rehab's going to be.
Sure.
Have
Yep.
my contractor walk through and we're off like maybe 5%. They're
Yeah.
like really, really good at that. But knowing areas, knowing up and coming areas, now we really have I would say like a stable of agents that we work with
Hmm.
primarily on the new construction side that specialize in the markets that we're looking in.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
another thing too, right? Is I've talked to agents and I ask them what markets do you specialize in. They say everything. I'm like, no, no, it's
Yeah.
impossible, right? Like I want somebody that is in a specific area among other areas, but these areas where we're looking at, if they are experienced there, then they're going to be able to tell me, hey, don't buy on that street. You can buy on the zip code, but that street right there
Hmm.
sucks, or that cul-de-sac, it's awful. Don't do it. There's a school behind that house, right? They're able to tell me those things really quick.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Cool. Let's move on, I guess. So agent, obviously, Austin, he's going to be your go-to agent. Lenders are, I think it's a good number two, right? Is number one, you need someone to help you find the deal. So you got an
Hmm.
agent, and you need someone to help finance that deal, right? And when we're talking with investors and you're thinking to yourself, okay, I need to find a fixer upper, it may not
Yeah.
pass an inspection that you would normally get maybe a conventional loan for. You want to talk to hard money lenders. And just like agents and lenders and everyone on this list, they're not all created equal. You
Right.
know, hard money, as we've discussed a lot in the past on our past shows, is short term lending, high interest, really designed to get you into the property, get the property rehabbed, and then get it flipped or
Yeah.
refinanced, right? Within a 6 to, or a 3 to 12 month period. Just get in and out. You don't want to stay in too long, but not every hard money lender is created equal. Some charge points, which is like a percentage point of the loan as a fee.
Hmm.
That can be anywhere from 1 to 3 points. So, for instance, if you have a $300,000 loan, they charge a point as a
Right.
fee. You're going to pay $3,000 on top of that, right? As part of your closing costs. So, you want to do your research. You want to check reviews. You want to talk to other investors in your circle or just even online. See
Yeah.
what their experiences were like with the lenders, because some lenders, they're really great at getting your draw sent to you really quick in a day or two, right? You submit your draw request, they have an inspector out there the next day, you got your draw the next day after that. Some are awful at that. They might take
Yeah.
3 to 5 days to get the
Hmm.
draw to you. Okay. Some of them might not be very good at processing paperwork, right? Or communicating to you some of their,
Or answering the phone.
obligations, right? They don't answer the phone. So you're probably going to date a few lenders until you find someone that you
Yeah.
kind of want to get married to, right? Is that's going to be your go-to lender. You're somebody that's fast, like we talked about, that time kills deals. You want a lender that is
Yeah.
fast, that can help you analyze the deal, and that can close on the deal quickly as
Yeah.
well.
I find that lenders are a lot like real estate agents. A good lenders, you're going to have good communication with them. They're going to call you and text you. They're going to work after hours. But a bad lender is, we're dealing with a contract that keeps being delayed simply because nobody can get a hold of this lender on the
Mm,
file.
wow.
And we have his cell phone, we have his direct phone. And so he's not answering that. He's not responding to emails. So I Googled him. I found his website. I found the building that he works at. I had to call the front desk and I said, I need to get so and so on the phone. Somebody help me or transfer me to a manager or somebody.
Wow.
But and I had to keep calling back. And then finally somebody said, oh, you're looking for Bozo the Clown? He was literally standing in the doorway in front of the office of the person I got on the phone. He was like, you know what? He's just going to talk to you on my phone. He's like,
Wow.
dude, talk to Austin. He's been trying to get a hold of you. So yeah, you don't want, I mean, that kind of stuff, like most people are not going to go on a witch hunt to find a lender. And that applies to every vendor on here.
Hmm.
But most people are not going to go through all those extra steps to track somebody down. And if you have to do that, don't use that. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if they have the best rates. Not communicating will kill the deal. It doesn't matter if they're giving you the best terms or not.
Yeah, yeah, and we like I mentioned before, we dated a few lenders until we really found a hard money lender that we really liked, and communication was good, their structure was good, their documentation was good. They had a few little things that we kind of didn't like, but it wasn't that big of a deal. Some of the bad some of the bad lenders we dealt with, changing deal terms like
Yeah,
a day before closing, or after we're
yeah,
out of the option period, and it's like, what do you mean, the interest rate is now this, or the interest rate could change to this after a certain period of time. Like, none of
yeah,
that stuff was part of their disclosures.
yeah.
And so yeah, you can run into some problems there.
Yeah, yeah, that's important. Make sure if you're flipping houses, you have your private money lender. You always need to have another lender that can do a conventional loan in case you can't flip the house.
Hmm.
Always have them in place. If you're looking at commercial, you need a good commercial lender, a DSCR lender, etc. So make sure you have those guys in place. They know who you are, you know who they are. So when you find that deal, you can move fast, make that call. They know who's calling. So. This one is important. Inspector. You got to have a good inspector. Most people don't. I have one. I have two inspectors I'm more than happy to recommend. I'll give you an example of a bad inspector, and I'm not going to call him out but if you message me, I'll tell you who he is. And he's not, this was a guy that number one was inspecting a commercial property that had an active business on it, and the inspector was not cognizant of the business operations that were currently going on at that time.
I remember this story. Yeah.
Number two, he was just slow. Just it was just the slowest guy in the whole world. Just like watching paint dry, and then he would talk a lot. Be wary of people who chit chat too much. That's a red flag. Um, And then he stuck his fingers in the electric panel and blew a circuit, and they had to close one of the rooms, and it ended up costing the seller money. That was a crazy deal. That was a crazy deal. What you're looking for in inspectors, the same thing as with everyone else. You're looking for someone that has the heart of a teacher. So someone's obviously they're going to tell you everything that's wrong with the property. And no matter what, commercial, residential, brand new construction, something that was built in the 30s, the piece of real estate that you're purchasing will have some issues on it. And it's the inspector's job just to find those issues. I also find that a good inspector is going to answer questions. You'll be able to call them. And I've done this plenty of times with Kelly Oldenkamp. He's always done a great job. If there's something that I don't understand, or sometimes there are items on the report that may seem more serious than they actually are. And if some buyers may not have the experience to know the difference, they'll be able to explain those things to you. So that's communication, and then fees. The right price is important, but most inspections are relatively close
Hmm.
in price. Anything else on inspectors?
Yeah, I think you mentioned, you touched on communication, right? And it's the speed, like, because you're getting this inspection done during your option period, right? So you don't want an inspector to come in, and I mean, I know it's probably different on commercial properties, but on the residential side, you don't want them to come in and take 3 or 4 days to get a report back to you. So
Yeah.
thankfully, we've never really dealt with that problem. We typically get the reports back either same day or the next day.
Yeah.
But that can kill your deal,
Yeah.
if they aren't good with communication, or they're taking a long time to get the reports back to you, or they don't have a backup, right? If let's say they get sick or something happens, they have to have a backup too. So that's
Yeah.
why it's always good to go with respect, or I'm not necessarily established inspectors,
Yeah.
right? So
100%. Absolutely.
yeah. So the other thing too is your inspector is going to come and take a look at the work that's either been done by the contractors or the handyman of the property that you're buying, or we do pre-listing inspections where I want an inspector, professional inspector, to come and inspect the work that we did, right? That our
Hmm.
contractors, our general contractors have done to repair those properties. We
Yeah.
like to do pre-listing inspections and include those inspection reports with our fixes with the listing, right? So we kind of take a little bit of that negotiation out, if we do that. But having a good contractor for repairing your properties, getting those things rehabbed and getting them to market, whether it's a rental or a flip, those guys or gals, I mean, they can really, really make or break your deal.
Yeah.
If they're not good at documenting documentation, or coming up or helping you identify changes and things like that,
Hmm.
those can really blow up your budget, if you don't have a plan on how
Right.
those things get addressed. I had a contractor just do a whole bunch of extra work without telling me, and then towards the end, he comes with this invoice that's
Yeah.
25% more than he had quoted, and that's just sticker shock. I mean,
Right.
I ended up paying it because he did the work, but none of it was communicated.
You didn't approve of that work.
No, no, I didn't approve of it. I actually, but I did pay him because he did the work. But at the end of the day, it's just, you have to communicate those things,
Yeah.
right? And
How do you get
then
ahead of a contractor that tends to add stuff to the bid without telling you?
you have to be present. You have to understand what's going on in your project. You have to be aware of your scope of work and what that looks like, even from just a high level. I'm not saying that you have to know how to frame a house, but
Hmm.
understand what those things at least look like. And if you see something, say something, right? Don't
Yeah.
be afraid to ask questions. And a lot of new investors, they kind of just take this back seat and they let their contractors do all the driving. And that contractor might start making decisions that you don't really approve of, right?
Right.
So taking ownership of your project and really managing your team as a team, and
Yeah.
not just letting them go do their own thing, you can avoid those headaches down the road. And then, Austin, like, once you get that property rehabbed and you get it refinanced and now you have it as a rental, if you have someone like a handyman, because things happen, right? Things break. Your renters, or if it's an Airbnb host or something, they break things. Having a good handyman on call, you kind of get what you pay for. We pay a little extra for our handyman, especially for the vacation rentals, because we
Hmm.
typically need them there like same day,
Yeah.
to come fix things. So we're paying a little bit more for those services. I tend to be the handyman for our company for the long-term rentals, at least. Those typically have fewer issues because the
Sure.
turnover is just a lot less. So I can go do some things like that. But having a good handyman that's honest, that's fair, and that's
Hmm.
fast or available, right? Those are
Is your
some.
handyman the same as your contractor, or those different
No,
people?
no, those are different people.
Different people.
Yeah, yeah.
I think going back to the contractor, it's important to. I think most people are probably going to benefit by hiring a general contractor. Your general contractor is going to subcontract a lot of the work, but they're
Hmm.
going to coordinate it. But you can probably save a lot of money. Maybe not a lot, but you can save some money by being your own general contractor and hiring your own subs. The challenge with that is it may be six or seven, eight different contractors that you're having to manage.
Hmm.
And that's a lot of back and forth. But also with the general contractors, most general general contractors still don't do everything. Some don't touch HVAC.
No.
I had a GC once that would not do countertops.
Yeah.
Some won't do plumbing. So just being sure what they do and what they don't do so that you're not missing anything. And then I would say the opposite of what you said. So it's one problem that you have a contractor that adds stuff without telling you.
Hmm.
The other thing that I look for in a contractor is somebody who's going to bring things to my attention that I wasn't, that I,
Yes.
don't just
Yep.
assume that because it's going to be more expensive to fix that hole in the ceiling. Don't just assume that I don't want, I mean, at
Yeah.
least like I probably never noticed it. And so having a contractor is going to be like, dude, you realize there's a hole in your backyard that goes 20 feet into nothing. Do we want to
Awesome.
take care of the?
One of my biggest pet peeves is working with contractors that cannot think for themselves. They just, I mean, I've worked with electricians. I've worked with a bunch of electricians, and the worst electricians, they just replace things and put things there. They don't test. What does this switch do? I mean, I'm like, what are you thinking? I've got
Yeah.
three switches in this house that do absolutely nothing. Like, what are you thinking?
Dude, that
You
is so
saw it there
common.
and just replaced it, and like that's it, done. I mean, that happens so often. And but it's I like working with those GCs though, and those contractors that say, like, just like you said, hey, I saw this, I know this isn't right, what would you like to do, right? And then give me some options,
Yeah.
give me some options, give me good, better, best, and let me choose,
We
right?
had a contractor install a light in our bedroom years ago. And to this day, next to my door, there's two different switches. One is the old with three light switches, and next to it is a completely different looking light switch that doesn't match at all. And I
Yeah,
have to look at that every day and think to myself,
you need to
like,
fix that.
so stupid.
All right,
Like,
all right, let's move on. Next.
no, I'm never going to fix it. I'm going to remember it forever.
Okay.
All right. This next one is important.
Oh yeah.
This is important. Insurance agents or insurance
Yes.
agent. We're very fortunate. We work a lot with Samantha Albright at Allstate, and on our on our listings, when we're selling a listing, she'll give
Hmm.
us a quote. She'll give us a bid that we can share with prospective buyers. It's good to have an insurance agent that understands investment coverage and what you need and what you don't need. Also, our company we work with, they move much quicker than I do, which is really good. So they're always a step ahead of us. And then if I don't understand anything, something, they're definitely there to explain it. But you can't do without this, because it's going to be required. And I find, um, I can, like, right now, I'm in the middle of a deal that's being delayed because of an insurance issue.
Hmm.
And, uh, it having a bad insurance agent or a bad insurance company that doesn't move quickly and respond quickly, it can really slow things down because these are the kind of vendors that investors especially tend to forget about and not think
Hmm.
about insurance until like the last minute, and then they're
Right.
scrambling to get
Hmm.
that taken care of.
Yeah. Having knowledgeable people in that as an insurance agent, you want to make sure they understand the type of asset that you're working with, right? Are you working on a flip? And so they're going to understand builder's risk and things like
Hmm.
that. If you're working to go get this refinanced as a rental, they're going to ask you questions. Is this a long-term rental? Is this a short-term rental? Because those are two different types of policies as well,
Right.
right? We kind of started with, I think we kind of started with our primary home insurance agent and then started working with her on the investment side once we got to that point. And she was very knowledgeable, which was good. She was able to kind of guide us, and we've used her for, I would say, 95% of all of our policies,
Right.
but that is, and we've gotten leads from other insurance agents and brokers and things like that. But honestly, like, I need a very compelling reason to switch. Like, it's got to be like, really, it can't just be you're going to save me $100. I don't care, right? I'd rather work with Christina. because she knows all of our properties and
Hmm.
she's very attentive and she's very knowledgeable, right? So
Yeah,
you want to make sure they know what you're doing too. You're
exactly.
communicating that to them. So the other thing too is, we're going to close this deal, right? Like, are you going to close it at the county clerk's office, which we've done before, or are you going to close at the title company? And so not all title companies are created equal.
No.
And it kind of depends on your deal too, right? Most title companies can close, no issues. You're going to be fine. But we like to stick with one, just like our insurance agent. We
Yeah.
close most of our deals at one title company. Our refinances, when we refinanced our first property, Austin, I didn't even know we had to refinance it at a title company. I was just thinking the bank or the lender was going to handle all that stuff. And they were
Yeah.
like, which title company do you want to use? I was like, what do I need a title company for? Like, I'm
Yeah.
close to you. Like, well, no, this has to be done over there. So, anyways, we learned a lot in that process. But what's important is making sure your title or your escrow agent knows, again, what type of asset you're working with,
Hmm.
what your exit strategy is, or, well, I'm sorry, what your acquisition strategy is and what your exit strategy is.
Right.
They know all those things, because some title companies aren't really good at like creative finance, right? They're not really
Right.
seller finance or
Yeah,
subject
that's true.
and things like that. And if you're doing something like that, you want to make sure your title company knows how to process those deals,
Yeah.
because they can actually, like, everybody can kind of get in trouble at the end if they don't really know. The
Yeah.
title companies we work with, when they don't know something, they really just take a step back, right? They're not like, hey, we'll figure this out kind of thing. They're just like, hey, this is really, our lawyers are asking too many questions. Maybe we can't help you with this one. And I
Right.
like that answer, right? Cool. Don't back me into a corner. Now I'm scrambling. I'm going to go find someone else for this type of deal, right?
Yeah.
So your title companies, though, they need to be able to communicate with you. I've seen title companies go dark as well, just like these inspectors and
Yeah.
lenders and everybody
Yeah, we
else.
have that.
I've had title companies that I've worked with just not be as responsive as our go-to title company, because sometimes the whoever's in this transaction, whether it's a buyer or seller, they may want to pick the title company, and that might just be contractual. And the
Yeah.
title company sometimes that they choose, they're just not really as good as your go-to, right?
Yeah.
So it's super important to have people that are knowledgeable, that are going to keep you safe, that's going to keep your deal legal and above board.
Yeah.
Their communication is going to be good.
We've had a lot of different challenges with some non-preferred title companies.
Mm-hmm.
Communication, like you said, we've had title companies go dark on us. We've had um, title companies that will wait until the last minute and just bring up a bunch of problems that could have
Mm-hmm.
easily been handled early up front.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I value in the title companies that we use is on our listings, they'll pull title for us before we go under contract just to make sure that everything on the title history is clean and clear. Because what will happen is, and we've had a lot of issues, especially earlier in our days, where we get to the closing table and we realize, hey, there's somebody on the title history that's not supposed to be there. We have to reach out to the next of kin, or you know, there's all sorts of different issues. We've
Mm-hmm.
had easement issues, things that could have been addressed, a sign issue, things that could have been addressed sooner. So having a title company that will look into it and open file early in the game is a big deal. Next thing on our list is property manager. Well, you've got to decide early in the game if you're going to manage your own property. Now, I personally think it's a good idea for everyone to manage their own property to a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but ideally, as you're going to grow a portfolio, um, you probably don't want to manage your own property. You probably want to hire a professional to do that. We have a situation where I can tell you for sure that we have a property manager costing our client six figures right now. And he's using a full service property management. And so part of that service includes financials, and they don't know how to do financials. And
Mm-hmm.
it's really making it impossible to evaluate this deal from an investor perspective. Not all property managers like have that mindset of an investor. They don't understand the numbers. Not all. Some of them do, some of them don't. So make sure you hire a property manager that knows
Mhm.
investments and, like Alberto, you're going to find things that and you and I have had these conversations before about mutual clients of ours, but you're going to find ways to save your
Mhm.
clients' money by the way you manage the property. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think for sure. I think one thing a good property manager, besides everything that you've already talked about, is reducing like your turnover rate, right? So trying to reduce vacancy in your units. And
yeah,
that comes through the relationship that the property manager has with the tenants or with the guests or renters, right? You're not taking them out to dinner or things like that, but you're being cordial. It's a
sure,
customer service industry, right? Property management is you're the
yeah,
face of the property of the landlord, right,
hmm,
to these renters or to the guests that are staying in these properties, whether it's like short-term rentals and things like that. So a good property manager knows how to handle those relationships,
yeah,
also knows how to handle for instance, late payments, potential evictions, and
hmm,
communicating with renters there too. And then being the liaison, right, between the landlord and the renters and the
yeah.
tenants. So
That's
that's
important.
good property manager brings that to the table too. All right, kind of getting to the legal stuff now, right? So having a good CPA, bookkeeper,
Yes,
I think back in February was really, really awesome. We had
yeah,
Andre on for a few calls. I will say like that team, that member of our team has been absolutely a game changer for us.
yeah,
Like I don't know how. I know how we did it before, and how we did it before was just we were limping. We were just really, really limping along with another CPA. Once we got a good CPA on our team, that number one was available, very knowledgeable, and also willing to teach.
yeah,
Right, have this teaching heart as well because I want to learn. I mean, I know there's a lot of investors that are like, hey, you take it. Like, here you go. Like, it's your ball. I don't care what you do with it. Just make sure it's all legal. Whenever you need me to give you something, let me know. Right. I know there's investors that do that. Me, I'm very involved. I'm in the weeds, I'm in
right,
all the details. Right. So, having a good CPA and bookkeeper that's organized, that communicates well, and that's not going to cost you money,
yeah,
right? Because at the end of the day, that person can also cost you money if,
yeah,
for instance, they file your taxes incorrectly,
hmm,
or they file your taxes late without filing the proper extensions. All of those things can cost you money.
yeah.
So that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. Good communicator, help you understand things, keep you tight on your deadlines.
Mm-hmm.
And then bookkeeping, your bookkeeping is just not a method. We've talked about this so many times, but it's worth repeating. It's not just a method of being prepared for tax day, for filing your tax. Your books is going to be it's going to reflect the health of your business. If you have a healthy business, your books will reflect that.
Mm-hmm.
So having a good bookkeeper uh, is critical because we're all in this to turn a profit. We call it real estate investing
Mm-hmm.
for a very good reason, and because we believe that we can beat the market by investing in real estate. Well, if you don't know your numbers, how do you know if you're beating the market?
Mm-hmm.
You know, your books, the books are the only ways. Your books, that's the only way that you're going to be able to determine if you're better off buying real estate or if you were better off just putting it in Amazon stock or whatever. So next thing, a team of attorneys. Like I would have a series of attorneys. You need a contract attorney. You may only need her a few times, but we have a contract attorney that does our LLCs and various contracts, employment contracts. Um, you need contracts, real estate attorney, um, trust, probate attorney.
Mm-hmm.
Man, we've had some really easy deals just get very very hard because of a bad probate attorney.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't realize how important it is to have a good attorney on your side until you need an attorney. And most people don't know a good attorney. I don't know if you
Mm,
know this, but
I
it's
know.
easier to find a good real estate agent than it is to find a good real estate attorney. Uh, but when you need them, you need them. And once you're in the middle of a situation with an attorney, it's pretty hard just to fire that attorney and go with somebody else because they're going to bill you for all those hours. So most people they get stuck with a bad attorney, they ended up sticking with them until the deal is over. So having knowing who good attorneys are up front, that's going to save you a ton of
Let
headaches.
me ask you a question about attorneys. So, do you think that, in your experience, have you seen that investors tend to shy away from hiring an attorney, thinking that they can kind of figure things out on their own or use their title company or use their agent in ways
Yes,
to try to figure things out? Why do you think that is?
save money.
Save money.
To
Yeah.
save money, yeah. I mean, I've had clients ask me to practice law several times in the last 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's to save money. And the problem is there's a liability for a real estate agent writing contracts that they don't have. We have our own contracts that come from the Real Estate Commission and the Texas Association of Realtors. Those were written by attorneys. We don't write contracts. We don't, but I mean, it's Texas. You can do it and get away with it, but there is a liability there that
Mhm.
you need to be aware of. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know. I know in the past I was always kind of skeptical or not skeptical, intimidated by hiring an attorney. And the one time that we really needed an attorney, we went and hired an attorney, and that attorney saved a deal for us. It
oh,
was a
really?
probate issue. Yeah, it was a probate issue. Charged us a very nominal fee, really, to be honest with you. It was a very small fee to help us with the affidavit of heirship
Yeah.
and got all that stuff figured out. And we helped someone save their home from foreclosure. So,
Yeah.
um,
That's important.
yeah. So, anyways, like last but not least, right, is kind of how are people, these people that are going to help you market your property besides
Hmm.
your real estate agent, right? They're your first tier, your first line that's going to help you market your property, but you also need someone that's going to, for instance, maybe you need photos of your place,
Yeah.
right? You need photos, a good photographer, and there's a difference between real estate photographers and like short-term rental
Yeah.
photographers. Sometimes they can do both, but you really want to again ask for referrals, look at people's work, check references, and things like that. They're going
Hmm.
to help you, like, for instance, like with a property manager, they may have leasing support, people that are running background checks and
Yeah.
credit checks and checking references and things like that for the property manager. So they're going to help you. They're going to help with reducing vacancy and things like that as well.
Yeah. 100%.
One of the things too that I'm gonna just hop back to the photographer is finding a good photographer and not just some fly by night person. Is that again that photographer can kind of make or break your deal.
Yep.
If you don't want to spend the money for a photographer and you go out there with your iPhone and you take a whole bunch of photos, when I'm looking, especially if it's like for a short-term rental and Airbnb, if I'm looking at two side-by-side properties and I see one that
Yeah.
is professionally, done professionally, and
Yep.
one obviously is done with an iPhone, I'm probably want to go with this because that
100%.
host is probably a
Yeah.
professional host. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
As opposed to now, I might go stay in this home and that host has no clue, right? I might
We've
have
seen that so
questions.
many times
Yeah,
where investors they will put all this money and time to make this property ready and like you said for photography. The other thing is staging.
staging.
We
Yes.
had a client buy a multi on the beach
Mm-hmm.
and really did a nice rehab job and then staged it with stuff they bought from Goodwill. And it looked like my grandma's house from the 80s, seashells and a lot of pink and green. It just didn't look modern at all. And I think that really cost them. So making it look more modern, more
Right.
professional,
Right.
you never get a second chance to make a first impression. In real
Yeah.
estate, definitely.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up too, because you're helping me understand, you're helping me remember these too. So, and there's a difference between staging and like interior design. All
Yeah.
right. And you may ask, well, when do you need an interior designer? If you're setting up an Airbnb or you're setting
Hmm.
up a furnished monthly rental, though there's a difference there. A stager is just, they're not necessarily thinking outside the box, right? They're not thinking of making your property look so much different or to attract a different type of clientele. They want your property to sell. And it's usually based on price point, right? If you're
Yeah.
staging a $200,000 home, you're not going to put the same items in there as opposed to $1 million home that you're
Right.
staging, right? But those interior designers, getting those people involved kind of in the beginning for those people that are trying to, set up Airbnbs or monthly rentals, you want to have that interior designer kind of in the beginning because they can even help you with design of walls. Like, hey, put a wall
Yeah.
here, or let's do this open area here. We're going to have some open seating. Let's do a dedicated workspace over here. And it's just a lot different. So we've worked with interior designers as well, Austin, on a lot of our properties. And again, money well spent because it
Yep.
attracts the right person to your property. That's what we want. So
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, that is just a sneak peek at what we're going to be discussing the next couple of weeks. That's all very important. If you're listening, I hope you wrote that down. If not, go back and write it down or keep it on your email. We'll email the notes out. But yeah, real estate agent, lender, inspector, contractor, insurance, title, property manager, CPA, bookkeeper, attorney, photographer, stager, marketing help, leasing support. So about 13, 14, 15 different people that you need to know if you're going to win in the real estate investing world. So
yeah.
anything
All right.
else?
No, man, that next week's big week. I gotta get my hair cut. I gotta get ready for our live
Oh my
show.
gosh.
I'm ready.
Yeah, I need to get a haircut too. So yeah, it'll be good. So don't forget Wednesday, the 16th, we're going to start 4 o'clock at Jackie's
You mean Thursday
in
the 16th?
Thursday. Thank you. Thank you. Thursday, the 16th. Shoot me a text if you need the address or email me at austinjones@kw.com. Find us on the gram. Find us on Facebook. These videos will be on YouTube. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Leave a comment. And until then, I'm your friend Austin. This is my brother Alberto Medellin. Have a good one.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.